alhamdulillah. God is great, I can't lie. Let's get this paper, my guy. Ignore the haters, my eyes are focused on the cash, trying to get the next payday. Never focus on the nyash, man's a baller like JJ.
Let me recognize the Director of Programs, Yaga Africa, our Chief Collaborator and Host Institution, Madam Cynthia Imbamalu. Creatives then are very central to the practice and the survival of democracy. Therefore, the strength of our democratic institutions is reflected in how we treat our most creative minds. By supporting our artists, we nurture the very roots of innovation and resistance that sustain our democratic lives.
Truly, really believe in solidarity and partnerships. And I would say first, we're really pleased to be part of the Democratives. I want us to remain conscious of one word: solidarity. Because if we truly want to build a democracy that works for West Africans, that works for Africans, we must learn to constantly work together, stand with each other, and speak up for each other. Because when democracy succeeds in one country, it becomes an inspiration and a hope for others in the neighboring countries to say, if it's working here, then it can work here. And so when we say Senegal is an example, if they could do this, then we can draw strength from what they've done. That is the solidarity we're talking about.
It tells us that trust in election management bodies is all-time low. And when I checked the Ghana figure, was it 22% or something? Very low. And across countries, the EMBs are losing their trust. And if they are losing their trust, it affects the legitimacy of elections. How can people trust the outcome of our elections when the institution responsible for coordinating and managing it are facing legitimacy crisis or integrity deficits?
My brothers, my sisters, art is not a luxury in this matter. It is a necessity in this fight for a dying democracy. We need to not just do the typical 10-pointers of how to help the creative community. I will encourage the artists in this room to continue to do the work that they do, and while we also secure and get the big guns to the table, I officially launch Democratives. Thank you so much.
First of all, when we look at policy reforms and advocacy, it's important to establish cultural policies, and advocate for the creation of implementation of clear cultural policies that recognize and support the creative industry as a vital contributor to economic and social development.
Real, guys, is around us. And here's the last bit I'll say, that as a creative, what I've understood is that there's a powerful weapon I wield. I can say something in a way that everybody will be like, interesting. Not just that, I'm influential with how I dress, how I walk. I'm sure there are a lot of young artists here that are like, oh, Emma is coming, maybe you know who I was, and maybe I used to do the same thing. You're like, man, can you see how he's, and that power, every single creative has it here. Your family members, your extended family, they're watching you. Sometimes they don't believe in you, but they're impressed. Can you imagine this person can do this? This is a special human being. And that special light, just like it was in Bible times, we can stand in front of the armies, we can stand in front of the people, and we can show them the way. And that's why I'm here. I'm proud to participate in conversations like this and continue to show up for my country and continue to do what I can. Thank you.
J'ai passé plus de 10 ans à cheminer ensemble, qui ont pris la pirogue et qui ont perdu leur vie. Et je sentais que oui, je devais parler. Parce que perdre ces gens-là qui avaient cette possibilité de voyager sans pour autant prendre les pirogues, s'ils étaient patients, je me dis que j'ai cette responsabilité-là de partager les problématiques et de montrer à ces jeunes-là que oui, c'est possible de découvrir d'autres pays, de voyager, de réussir sa vie sans pour autant prendre des risques tels que prendre les pirogues.
Il faut prendre la possibilité et le risque d'en parler et d'établir la connexion entre les différentes parties des acteurs de la société civile, de chez vous et ailleurs. Ainsi, la connexion permet automatiquement d'éviter les genres de difficultés que nous avons. Parce qu'aujourd'hui, le taux des jeunes qui vont en immigration, qui se jettent dans la mer ou qui vont dans le désert, c'est énorme. Chez nous, c'est énorme. Pourquoi? Parce que les jeunes acteurs de développement de demain sont désespérés. Parce qu'ils ont trouvé que ce qu'on les a promis depuis le mois de 5 septembre 2021, date du coup d'État, du putsch des militaires, c'est une illusion. Aujourd'hui, c'est autre chose.
I understand art based on two, if you like, philosophical angles. Art is supposed to show people who they are, so the idea of representation. But most importantly, it's supposed to show people who they can be, so the idea of aspiration. And that's the angle of art that I take very seriously. As an African, seeing how can we use our art to further the consciousness and the development of our continent. And I'm very glad that you started by providing a backdrop about the idea of conscious arts, because art plays a very important role in shaping people's perceptions, whether consciously or subconsciously, and in shaping what they aspire towards, right? And I believe that there's an almost divine responsibility on the African artists to project messages and images that does not continue to, if it were to enslave the way we think, but to liberate us and to also inspire us for action.
With a caveat, a lot of information that also leaks or is made public is that the personal conviction came at a price tag. So it then lessens the value of how citizens then see the creative, because in a sense it's almost as if you were bought. So not necessarily like you think this particular person is good for the country, will do well, but it's because your belly got serviced. So I think it's a delicate balance, I'd say, in terms of creatives. Now, one of the things that I'm really proud of the work that MI has started doing is basically having conversations with creatives, and I'm sure he's spoken about that, in helping them understand that you don't have to be ready to do, it's not about protest. It's not about an antagonistic approach to engaging government, but it's using your talent in a way that speaks to your own personal beliefs, because it makes it easy. It makes it easier. I mean, Mr. Macaroni is a classic example. He's funny, he does skits. Now, how can we leverage what is natural to you to educate people because you have a large following? Now, if Mr. Macaroni doesn't get it or doesn't believe it, you can tell in the skit, because the production is not just quite as nice. It seems it's a public service announcement with a bit of humor, and you can usually tell when a creative has been paid to do a skit. But when it's something that they actually believe in, and it's something that's coming from a place of conviction, your role is to guide them with information.
And the question is, how do you find creatives that believe? Because that's very, very important in this world where anybody can pick up their phone and anybody can be a creative. It's really, really hard, especially I'm here with CDD, so we're constantly looking for people who will make the change and make impact. So how do you identify those qualities?
I was trying to say, build relationships. Like, you will know when you hang out with someone what the core of their person is. And a lot of times people start the conversation with the creative, they've already made all the decisions. This is the project, this is the campaign, this is what we want you to say, bam, bam, bam. You're not interacting with the person or their creative ability at all. You're just giving them a job to do, which they get all the time. But if you sit with somebody and you see where they're going and what their own pain point is in their life, and you connect with at that level, you're going to find someone that, even when they're not in the room, they will fight for you. Democracy is important as an ideal. I don't think that we should think about democracy as a picture of what somebody is practicing anywhere else, but as an ideal that the voice of the lowest person is as important as the voice of the highest person in deciding what happens to them. That's the ideal.
But when it's time to vote, they run behind battle lines. Let me ask you, has the man in you died? Don't you know that good things come to those who work for it, and it stays with those who fight to protect it? Come on, friends. Do not cower in fear. Let us come together and fight for good governance, good healthcare system, education, social amenities, and together we'll make a great nation. Yes, we can do it.
This is a time for us as Africans to actually work together to build this strong marriage where we amplify each other's voices and build solidarity with civil society actors, citizens, and creatives, because if there's any time that we would need this kind of solidarity to support our democracy, this is the time. If you look at the recent threats to democracy in West Africa, we've had more coups experienced in West Africa compared to other parts of the continent. We've seen elections being manipulated or rigged in different countries. We've seen threats to constitutional democracies where presidents that get elected become authoritarian and they want to take over the system and stifle the voices of the people. And within this context, there's higher levels of poverty, unemployment, youth disillusionment, if you think about insecurity within the West African sub-region. So there are several challenges, and within this space is a major threat to democracy, to our fundamental freedoms. And this is a time that as Africans, as citizens of West Africa, we must work together, creatives, society actors, the media. We need to have this solid marriage where we speak as one voice to support the movement for a democracy that works for Africans.
What we are trying to say is that we need to build and move every aspect of society to try to change the current narrative in West Africa, because where we are going now, I think people are feeling despondent. They feel like there's no hope. So we need to reverse that feeling. And I think creatives are going to be very, very important to that. Even when we are feeling down, the idea that you can have a song, you can feel that there's hope.